G'day guys, welcome back to SuperCoach with DR and welcome to the round 13 stock market video. Round 12, round 13, that's behind us now. One buy round to come. Unfortunately though, it is the really tough one. Lots of coaches have not been looking forward to round 14. I've heard some people aren't even going to watch the footy this weekend. They're just too scared and they might even just not even open up the SuperCoach app this week and maybe wait until the week after just to see what Carnage actually engulf their side. So look, for me, I'm running at about 16 at the moment, fingers crossed, and with a couple of trades I think I can get to that magical number of 18, but that's relying on players like Waterman being selected, even a James Madden. Who knows if I'll get there. Yeah, SuperCoach gods, if you are listening, please look after us in a really tough week. But look, I'm going to keep the intro pretty short. I'm obviously not going to focus too much on round 14 buy players, but we will be focusing on those players that have already had their buy in either round 12 or round 13. And with the colour codes this week, there's only two colours. It's either green or red. If they're green, they've had their buy, they're now buy free, and if they're red, they are missing this week. So I hope that you managed to find a pick or two. There's a few options that we've got to choose from this week. As always, let's start off with those premium defenders. So the cupboard is pretty bare with available trading options this week. We were waiting for the backline Carnage this weekend. Look at all that red. Look, realistically, if you're looking to trade up to a primo this week, then you got four options. You got Stewart, Whitfield, Rich and Doherty. I talked a lot about Stewart and Whitfield last week. Feel free to go back and check that out for some more detailed history and numbers, but I've got them both in front of Rich and Doc at this stage, and it's hard to go past them. We'll start with Tommy, the defensive trade-in of last week. On the weekend, kicked the football more than any other player on the ground. Love seeing 19 kicks out of his 23 disposals. That's great. Used the ball well, took the kick-ins, and gained a game-high 723 metres. We've said all year that the great thing about the Stewart pick is not only his low floor, but his multiple avenues to score. He's an interceptor, a distributor, a playmaker, and as we know, gets a bowl of free chips every week from his kick-in duties. One of my best starting picks for the whole year and just won't let you down. I'm all over the Tommy Stewart selection. Lockie Whitfield, well, really disappointed, aren't we, after last week? But look, it wasn't probably the best advice for me to trade him in, but I just didn't see the poor score coming. His numbers are on the up, coming off a 110 or 120 before his bye, but just wasn't his game. He took a couple of hard knocks, which isn't great for his light frame, and I think this may have impacted his ability to run and carry. Not too sure on that, but there were rumours during the week even that he was a bit sore, was jogging laps at training, but look, I'd keep the faith. Year on year, he's provided us with a solid average, and I think and probably hope that he won't go that low again. He just didn't seem his usual self. Lack of 1-2s, which is usually his bread and butter. So keep the faith with the Lockie Whitfield pick. Hopefully bounces back. Well, I'm expecting him to anyway. Richie dropped off slightly in the last couple of weeks, but when I say that, I'm talking an 89 and a 98, so far from disastrous. He's 31 now, so would have enjoyed the rest during the week off. Probably hit a few golf balls around also. Very keen golfer is Richie. Look, he hasn't got a huge ceiling, but he's really a consistent pod with a really high floor. Lowest score was an out of character 72 in our very heartbreaking loss to Geelong. Very controversial, but won't revisit that again. But then his next two lowest scores are an 89 and a 91. So consistency at its finest. If you've got, I think, Whitfield and Stewart, he'd be my next best option. And Doc, look, an underrated season, SuperCoach-wise so far. I was one that certainly underrated him coming into the year, but owners will be pleased with what he's produced, but also maybe slightly concerned that he's gone from a 3-round average of 113 in rounds 7 to 9 to a 3-round average of 87 from rounds 10 to 12. So a no from me, a drop-off in form and a high break-even makes him a pretty obvious pass. Onto the defenders, 250 to 500k. There's probably two picks here that I'd consider, depending on what financial situation that you find yourself in. And they are Nick Haynes as that real budget option with potential upside, and my 2020 burn man, Dan Houston. I'll get to those blokes in a sec, but quickly with the others, Harry Edwards has the bye this week. Don't get him confused with the other Edwards from West Coast. Cox you'd hold on to. Again, that probably sounds wrong, doesn't it? CJ played a ripper on the weekend, but too risky for me. Lukosius, only a 72 on the weekend, so at times playing loose in defence, usually an elite distributor, but only went at 68% efficiency, which really affected his score. Last week he was at an attractive price, but this week doesn't offer the value, and a pick I'd pass on. Bozin doesn't help his cause either. McAvoy, massive pod. Haven't come across one team, I don't reckon, that owns this bloke. He's an interesting pick. Would you dare to trade him to Grundy? I doubt it. I don't think so. But McAvoy, definitely an interesting pod. Now I've put May in there just because some people I know are looking to trade him out. I'm holding myself, watching him on Monday and thought he played a ripper. Took basically all the kick-ins from memory, some nice intercepts, and just really looked solid. Just plugged himself in that hole and was a bit of a brick wall. Sometimes he locks down harder than what he did last week, but for me, should be in that second tier bracket of defenders. But if you want to get rid of him, it's up to you. I've certainly considered it, possibly even if I had some more trades up my sleeve. Yeah, I'm just not in that position personally. An option, but one I probably wouldn't recommend at this stage. McKenzie, pass. Blitzarves, look, the ultimate utility due to his height, athleticism, endurance. I think he actually led the way for contested possessions for Geelong on the weekend. I think it was 11. Haven't got the notes with it. But look, he's got DPP status, which is handy. But I just couldn't select him over some of the other blokes we've got in that 500 plus range. Ceiling isn't high enough for me. Pass, but certainly a pod selection. Cozzy, you probably hold for his warm body this week. If you can upgrade, that's fine. Sard, pass. Short, it's similar to the May situation, I think. I'm holding. Played really well last week. And again, a tier 2 that can go a bit up, a bit down. Consistency, just been an issue all year, but been okay at the same time. And Daniel and Ridley, pass for me. High break even. And ceiling pretty much Gonski, particularly, I think, for Ridley. And the defenders under 250k, Axel Foley, negative break-even of 52, does have the bye this week though and comes at an awkward price point at 161k. Jimmy Madden, I have the prayer symbol on. I am praying that he gets selected this week and comes back into the side. Look, I think there are some positive signs because Ryan Lester's hamstring is now worse than first thought. He's now looking to spend at least 3 to 4 weeks on the sidelines. That's a really good thing for Madden's job security. And we all know that there has not been a game this year where both Lester and Gardner have missed, where Madden has not been brought back into the side. So, Jimmy, if you can come back in this week, we know that Spills made a sacrifice on the podcast for you a couple of weeks ago. That would be absolutely fantastic. Please, SuperCoach gods, deliver on this for us. Tommy Highmore, jeepers, who saw this coming? Apologies for the bad advice last week. I had the sell badge on him because I thought, look, this bloke's losing money. Job security is absolutely terrible, extremely shaky. Massive chance of him coming in and out of the side, even as a medical sub. All things were just pointing in a negative direction for Tommy Highmore. But then he comes out, bangs out a 111, intercepts everything that comes his way, plays the absolute game of his life, delivers an on-score field of 100 plus. For those in a really, well, for some, a tough bye round. We know that this round's the toughest, but certainly last week was tough for some people. Isn't that absolutely ideal? So if you're like me and you trade him out, you're probably kicking yourself a little bit now, similar to the James Jordan situation maybe, where some people just lost complete faith. I suppose the difference is that even before Jordan put up a few of those bad scores, we had seen a pretty nice rookie ceiling from him. Tommy Highmore, unfortunately, just, did not deliver on that early on the season like James Jordan did. So I didn't count on him coming back, traded him out. Really, really bad luck. But at the end of the day, I bought in the man below him, Trent Bianco, and didn't he have a disappointing game on the weekend? A 23, I think it was from memory. So that's not what we paid up for when we got Trent Bianco. When I say paid up, still, it was 123k with that defensive mid DPP status. It's extremely handy, this selection. Still, don't lose the faith after a bad game. He's a rookie. We can expect this. But look, based off his first couple of games, his form in the VFL, I think he's still going to be a good pick and should still play most weeks. Lockie Jones, again, poor game over the weekend. Switched to the forward line in the final term. Kicked a nice one, which was handy. But I didn't end up using his score on field this week. Lockie Young, defensive mid. Look, his break-even 64. 3-round average of 36. Yeah, that's not looking too great, is it? And Nathan Murphy, look, you've just got to get rid of this bloke. He's got a break-even of 64. Look, it was only a corky, I'm pretty sure, over the weekend. But in saying that, I just think that he's got to go. He's got, well, when's he going to start making money? It's basically he needs a Highmore situation. Some sort of game where he just goes above and beyond expectations just to get that price cycle going again in the positive direction. So for me, I think he's a sell. But remember, I did recommend to sell Tommy Highmore just last week. On to the midfielders, 500 plus. The wine is fine for Ollie at the moment. What a game. Had him behind Kelly and slightly behind Miller as the best trade-ins last week. But he put up a magnificent performance. 29 touches, almost half contested, 6 tackles, 7 clearances, kicked a goal, and number 1 for metres gained out of any Port player. He's just so strong, a bull, and maybe it is his time to really step up into that uber elite. I still have him behind Kelly and Miller, but maybe I'm still underrating him. Look, there's no doubt he's in career best form. You can go there if you like, but just in my opinion, there's still some question marks over consistency. But at 570,000, I suppose that you could go worse. 65 for break even. Yeah, now would be the time to get him if you are going to get him at any stage, I think. The next man, I'll tell you what, my headline in the SuperCoach Swordplay podcast this week was I love Aeroplane Jelly, because this man is flying at the moment. Did absolutely nothing in the first 4 minutes of the game, and I was starting to get a little bit nervous. Thought, what have I done? I've made a bad move here, because remember, I got him in the week before when he was on his bye, which was a risky move at the time. But then he comes in for his first CBA, puts on a lovely tackle, holding the ball free, kicks long into 50 and sets up GWS's first goal. And really from then on, it was his game to dominate. He only scored 27 for his first quarter performance, which I think was unders, but then he really decided to step it up a gear, and he gave his owners a 64-point second quarter. 64 points. He kicked a lovely goal, spun out of a pack after a stoppage onto his left, bang. All his skills are on display. And by half-time, he was actually on 92 points, sitting on 20 disposals. More of the same in the second half, end up on 39 disposals. Kicked another goal. This was almost, I don't know if it was just me getting so excited, but I reckon almost one of the goals of the year from the boundary in his opposite foot. And that really gave the Giants a bit of a sniff, gave him some confidence. I'll go through his numbers in a minute when we compare his game with Tuke Millers and Ollie Wines. Look, if Wines was scored a 144, then Jelly should have been a 170. Should have had a 170 next to his name, in my opinion. But look, it is what it is. Still a lovely VC score for me. In his current form, a very dangerous player for non-owners, particularly in a week where we may be struggling for some decent captaincy options. We know what his history's like with his upcoming fixture. Will be in my loop for sure. And there's still some value and I think some major upside if played in the midfield. And I must say that the Jelly is not wobbly like it was at the start of the year. It's now looking like a solid top 8 mid-selection. So all 4 Aeroplane Jelly get on the ride, I think, soaring to great heights. Zeret, fresh off the bye, apart from finding it hard to get through a hard tag a couple of times, he should deliver most weeks. Only gone under the ton on, I think it's 2 occasions this year. I may be wrong there, but I think it's only 2 occasions. I'd recommend him this week as a trade-in option if you don't have that 600k to spend. Break even of 82, there's some value there. Darcy Parish, if you're in a lucky position to have cash in the bank, trades in hand to get him without compromising your upgrade cycle, bring him in and enjoy the monsters. Huge VC loophole and just a pot also. Ward's a pass for me. We might talk about Tuke in a minute. Cunnington, what a machine this man is when he's on song. Look, he's probably fighting for Jelly for best on ground honours up to half time, but really faded in the second half, which is a little bit of a concern. 25 disposals, about half contested, 5 tackles, 5 free kicks, 4, which really helped to boost up his score. He's just so strong in the contest, a typical country type of lad who I'm telling you would kick 200 in a season in a local league if plunked up at full forward. And I'm finding it harder and harder each week not to recommend him, but his scoring history or lack of for a premium midfielder still scares me. Look, North are playing some better football, and I think he's a real driving force behind that, but I still can't go past someone like Jelly at his price. If you think his body can hold up unlike last year, then you could take the plunge and get a real pod selection, but just couldn't do it myself. Boak, still an absolute gun. Got tagged at stages, I think, by O'Connor, but would rather Wines if you're going for a premium player, I think, from Port. Don't write him off, though. Titch, look, the numbers just confuse me. The pick still confuses me. Hot, cold, hot, cold. Man, it's tough to get a read. I just cross my fingers every week. Sometimes, like last week, you win. And other weeks, he delivers a 75 and you lose. We know he didn't have an ideal preparation to start the off-season. He's now at a break, which likely helps his cause. And who knows, it could be the start of a Titch resurgence, or else he could go back to his old pattern of good, bad, good, bad. If you've seen enough and you're happy to bank on his premium history and potential output, then go for it. He can actually be the difference at times between winning and losing league matches. For me, I don't know. I've been a frustrated Titch owner. I find it really hard to give advice on this bloke. Just go with your gut, I think, is the best advice I can give you on him. McRae, if you haven't got him, get him. Pretty simple. A must-have for mine. And Tarantula, don't buy him, but don't trade him. And the only other bloke I've got there in red is Andy Brayshaw. Now, the reason why I have included him this week is because I know that it may be a strategy or an option anyway to trade him out. He's one of those midfielders that a few of us have that's pretty much guaranteed not to finish in the top 8 to 10. And a few of us are thinking, well, if that's the case, maybe particularly during a really tough bye round where we want warm bodies on the field, this could be an opportunity to upgrade him to one of these uber primos. Now, first of all, if you are going with this strategy, you must be going to another uber primo, I think. For example, there's no way in the world that you'd go to a Tim Taranto. It's simply not worth it because they'll most likely average similar type numbers. So what you want to be doing if you are upgrading Andrew Brayshaw is to go for one of these big dogs. I'm talking your Bonds, your McRae's, your Parish type selections. These are the blokes that you want in your side. So yeah, it's up to you if you want to trade him out or not. I haven't got the luxury to do so. I would actually do it if I could, if I had the cash and if I had the trades available. But yeah, look, I probably still can, but I just think that's going to be cutting things a little bit fine. And I'd much rather have a couple of spare trades up my sleeve rather than try to upgrade someone like a Brayshaw when, yeah, we never know what's going to happen with injuries and all the rest. So again, just your personal decision with him. And very quickly, we'll see how the 3 trading options that I recommended last week actually performed. We can see 147 to 127 and a 144. So basically, wherever you went here, you would have come out a winner. We can see also why I think that Josh Kelly was a little bit ripped off with his score, even compared to Ollie Wines. We can see that Kelly had 8 more kicks, 2 more handballs. Same for tackles there, an extra free kick, an extra goal, more metres gained, 4 more contested possessions. Did have a couple more clangers. Wines got him on clearances there, and disposal efficiency 79% as compared to 71. But yeah, is that really 3 points difference? Certainly not in my opinion anyway, but maybe a bit of owner bias there with Jelly. And Tuke Miller, we can see, went out for marks. All 3 got 6 tackles, clearances with 8. Unfortunately, clangers with 7. That's something that you don't want to see in the yellow there. And time on ground, 89%. So 4% more than Jelly and 8% more than Wines, which can actually add up at the end of the day. So, as I said, wherever you went, you were pretty successful here. But I do think that Jelly was a little bit ripped off score-wise. Sammy Walsh, now, buyer beware. He does have the De Boer tag coming up. Well, it's my prediction anyway. I think it's a pretty logical prediction. I actually called De Boer Marc Lacroix in my round video somehow, but just got the wrong Frenchman there. But I think the risk is real. I can't see the Frenchman going to anyone else. Look, Walsh is clearly Carlton's most damaging player. And the tag, this was always coming. He's still a top 8 mid in my opinion, but be prepared for a below par score this week. Look, it'll be really good for his development and experience moving forward. But unfortunately, that doesn't help us with the buy Carnage this week. So a good selection overall, but a little bit dicey coming up against GWS. Cam Guthrie wouldn't go there at over 600k. Too much a risk for mine. Being injured, yeah, I just wouldn't do it myself. The Bond, if you've got the money, and again, if it doesn't affect your upgrading cycle, then just go for it. He won't let you down. There's no signs of this man slowing up. Look at that break even. It's 135 and it's in green. So that says it all there. 3-round average of 124 and 127 on the season now. So the absolute uber elite in 2021 Bonds. Highly recommend to get him in if you can. Are you overpaying? Will he come down in price? Certainly he will come down in price at some stage. I'd almost guarantee it to happen. But at the same time, he's just such a nightmare for opposition players, for opposition coaches. Such a tough matchup. Can you even tag him anymore? I'm not too sure if you can. But coming up against Geelong, who does O'Connor go to? It could be the Bond. It could be McRae. We've seen Sarong go to Libba. I really don't know. But even if Mark O'Connor goes to the Bond, yeah, I still see him going 120 plus anyway. Jared Lyons didn't play over the weekend, but I did hear an interview he did on SEN earlier today. He mentioned that during the off-season he got fitter than he ever has been before, worked specifically on his explosiveness, and that was a major goal for him. And he also said that when he was delisted from Gold Coast, that he had a really bad ankle, and after surgery that off-season, he's never felt better. In a really happy place as well with kid number 2 on the way. So all positive signs for JL in a footy sense and in a life sense. And I think a happy footballer off the field generally plays his best footy on the field. Now, my main issue is that he did have a decline in CBAs when Neil came back into the side the last match, but he is still clearly our number 2 mid in all Australian contention and still remains a pod. So I love the JL pick. With that break even, 158, you probably don't want to buy him now because that's why I've obviously got the caution sign there. I think he's going to be a terrific selection for the rest of the year, so that's why I've got to buy now on him because I really do consider him to be one of the big dogs. But the caution sign there, I suppose it's for one of 2 reasons. The first one, obviously, is that he's got a high break even, and secondly, it is a little bit scary to hear that his CBAs did go down. However, he still scored really, really well, even though they were lowered. So Jared Lyons still has a thumbs up from me. Now, Lachie Neale, thumbs up or thumbs down? Well, what I'd recommend to do, and I know that some people aren't necessarily in this position because you need to go this week, but ideally you just wait at least another week on Neale, see how he goes, and what I'm really concerned about is the week after. So against North this week, I could see him coming out, going to 140. No worries. Lachie Neale's got that every day of the week when he's fit and healthy. Now, the issue is the week after. We come up against Geelong, and I saw this firsthand in round 1 down at the Cattery. Watch this live. Mark O'Connor wore him like an absolute glove. Now, some of the tactics may have been, I suppose, outside of the rules, but look, at the end of the day, he, really, really made life tough for Lachie Neale, and I'm fully expecting O'Connor to go straight to Neale in the matchup in a couple of weeks. So you wouldn't be expecting necessarily a 100 plus score from Neale. Do we even expect 100 plus? Well, look at the season average. It's 95. But look, at the end of the day, we know that he's been injured. He's back at training, obviously because he's already played, not last week, but the week before. I think that was mainly just to dip his toe in the water, get a bit of touch, a bit of feel for the game back, and then obviously have that rest, recover, reassess how he's feeling, and then come out ready to smash the second half of the season after the buys. So, do you get him this week? Look, I think he'll score really well, but it's the week after that I'm concerned with. So, ideally you wait a couple of weeks, see how he goes after the O'Connor tag, and then, get him in if he's playing at the level that you want him to be playing at. So, we'll just see what happens with Lachie Neale. This week, I suppose you can go for it though, but yeah, I'd recommend probably not to if you can. Mitch Duncan had high time on ground for a midfielder, 90%. Kicked a goal, which was nice, 20 touches, but only one of those was contested. So that was the lowest CP rate on the field. Didn't seem to get his hands dirty, although I know it's not his job, but a score of 74, very low for his asking price at the moment, and I just wouldn't be considering him for one of our coveted midfield positions. A hard pass from me, even though he's had a pretty solid year score-wise. And Clary Oliver, some people are thinking about trading him out. There's no way that I trade out Oliver, but at the same time, he does have a break-even of 199. So I can see it as a bit of a play during the buys, but you definitely want to get him back in. I suppose, depending on how he goes, the week or two after the buys, what you could get him in. It's really hard to predict. Is it going to be the 600 mark? Will he go that low? Maybe 620 mark. Look, we know that he's got 199 in him. His ceiling is huge, Oliver. So, look, I traded out Grundy, for example, who's got a lower break even than Oliver. So, I suppose that I did that last week, so I can't really complain with this move. But, I suppose the difference is that Grundy's injured. It's on the ruck. It's in the ruck line where obviously you've only got 2 on-field positions. So it's different in that sense. But, at the end of the day, there is no way that I would be even entertaining trading the great pig out of my side. Midfielders, 250 to 500k. The man up the top, Pendles, had to give him a shout out. Massive game. Look, lots of us knew that it was coming. We knew that this great man would step up on this big occasion for the Collingwood Football Club and send off Bucks in a wonderful, wonderful way. So good on you, Pendles. A blast from the past. One of my absolute staples in Supercoach in years gone by, Pendles, and really never let me down when I started him in the side. So he's a great man on the absolute Supercoach pedestal. 424k, negative break even of 20. Can you go there after the buy's a real value pick? Oh, look, you'd be brave, but if you're desperate, then you could go for it, I suppose. But I'm not recommending it by any stretch. Burns and James Jordan, look, I think you just get rid of these guys this week. It is a tough buy. With Jordan, hopefully you can upgrade. 387k, that's been absolutely fantastic for a rookie. So he's made that magical 250k that is an absolute ideal scenario for a rookie. So this is the time to sell. Again, if you're absolutely stacked this week, which I doubt that you are, you could certainly hold on to him. Be great coverage for the rest of the year, but surely you can't be that lucky. And same with Burns, just get rid of him this week. Break even is still in the green there, so I suppose you could keep on to him if you want to really squeeze him out for every dollar that he's worth. But at the same time, I think that if you can get him out this week, then just go for it. Someone like a John Newcomb, for example, who we may even talk about in a minute, I'd definitely recommend that move. Simpkin, I just think he's a trap. Look, really, really good over the weekend, and he can have these type of games, Simpkin. Look, don't get me wrong, I think that he can, he's got the capabilities to become an elite player of the competition, but certainly just needs to clean a few things up. Consistency, isn't fantastic. We know he's playing for North, which can be tough. No offence to North supporters, but obviously the Roos have been struggling this year. So, trap for me, Simpkin. Just wouldn't go there, even under 500k, just to know. Tommy Powell, you just hold on to him now. That break-even is now 66. So, your season average is 69. 3-rounder is 57. So, still, I suppose in the negative if you compare it to the 3-rounder. But, certainly won't lose too much cash from now on. Maybe go down to 300k, but you just keep him as a body on field this week. Cripper I'm passing on, Heppel I'm passing on, Baz I'm passing on. Look, do you trade these? No, you can't trade these blokes in, I don't think. Just way too risky. But at the same time, you just hold them, I think, this week. And Matty Rao, this man down the bottom, 237 for a break even. So he's looking to go down just this week, 77k. How low will this man go? He's got a 3-round average of 30. Remember, that's really a 2-round average. He had that game of 6 and then pretty poor score on the weekend. Just blowing out some cobwebs, this great man. So, look, could he even be an option if you've got an extra trade or two, just to get him in at M9 even? It's a move that I'd be looking to make if I've got the cash and if I can do it. And look, I may have that move up my sleeve. I may choose to do that rather than saving a couple of extra trades for injuries. Just get this man in, for example, because I've got some DPP that can cover some other lines. So, yeah, keep him firmly on your watch list. And, yeah, there might be some interesting things that we could do with Matty Rowell, I think. And the midfielders under 250k, the man up the top, Luke Edwards, look at the price, 117,300, 80 for a 2-round average, a negative break-even of 89. But then we look at the notes section, unfortunately, has the buy. So, look, you can still bring him in this week if you if you need to make a downgrade in order to upgrade to someone that is actually playing this week, preferably a premium. But if not, certainly wait the week, just see if he gets named again. We know that there's a few players coming back into that side at the Eagles, so I'd be a little bit wary about his job security. I'm not an expert in any means when it comes to Luke Edwards' pick. I'm not looking really into it personally for myself this week anyway, because I'm just focusing on bringing players that are actually going to be on the park. So I'm not bringing him in this week, but if you need to, he's certainly an option. My strong advice, though, is that you bring John Newcomb in ahead of Edwards if you don't already have Newcomb in your side. He did set the record for amount of tackles for a debutant. I think it was 14 over the weekend. This guy is an absolute beast. And to be honest, that score of 75, if you just add up the tackles alone, then that's some really handy points there. He also had, I think it was 7+ contested possessions, 13 was it overall. So that's 75. Yeah, really with that tackle count, it could have been a lot higher. So I'm not sure if it was his disposal that just wasn't really effective. But yeah, with the Newcomb selection, it's a pretty simple one. If you don't have him, there is absolutely no worries with going with him this week. Now, I've obviously got the star symbol there, and the projected rise states that he's only played one game. So that's something to take into consideration. But job security going forward, I think, is cherry ripe. Yeah, have no worries about bringing this bloke in, and he will be a must-have rookie, I think. Sam Berry and RCD, just get rid of both of those blokes. Look, yeah, RCD's been disappointing in, I suppose, some sense, depending on when you brought him in, because I know a fair few blokes did actually buy him after that first price rise, and that would have really hurt. That's just been a really bad move. It's something I was looking to do, so yeah, nothing against those people that did it. Certainly was looking at the time like he could get up to 300k quite easily with the form that he showed, but unfortunately, yeah, been a little bit of a failure there. And Lockie McNeil, well, is he on the chopping block this week? He's a warm body, so it's a bit of a tough one. If you can field 18, you can afford to chop him, upgrade him, or downgrade him either to a Newcomb. Certainly recommend that. On to the rucks. I didn't even bother including the round 14 buy players. You know, we got Gawn, Grundy, Nick Nat, Rob, Darcy, Tom Hickey. Basically, any good ruckman is out this week. You know, I've got a couple there on the screen which we'll have a quick chat about. Even some of the young guns, you know, CCJ, Tracy, they've both got the buy this week. So for many in our ruck lines, it's going to be Donut City. Even the man up the top, Ned Reeves, does he even play this week? I can't see it. After Segler's career best performance over the weekend, he'd be pretty stiff to get dropped, in my opinion anyway. So unless Segler plays forward in place of O'Brien, which is unlikely, I think Neddy just has to wait until Big John puts in a subpar performance or two. And this pick has created havoc for super coaches, for those that traded him in, and even for those who didn't, because most of us had planned around this pick, bring him in during the buys, not only to get a warm body on field, but to free up some cash, much needed cash as well, in order to be able to upgrade some of our other rookies. So if you traded him, you still got the cash, but unfortunately not the score or the price rise. If he's selected and you don't own him, jump on if you can, but we may need a bit of a miracle for him to even be selected this week. Zach Smith, yes, I did jump on him last week. Look, I was all for Reeves, but you need to think and plan on the go. If you want to go back to my round review and listen to why I actually made this move, then feel free to go ahead. But in a nutshell, if he delivers 2 70+ scores in a row, so the next couple of weeks, that's all I need, and I'll be back on the way to training Grundy back in. So he gives me a warm body during some crucial buys, and the 100k price rise, or that's what I'm expecting, is exactly what I'm looking for when I invested in this pick. So that's just me. It's going to plan so far, but if you didn't jump on last week, unfortunately you've missed the boat. And quickly, the other thing that I was weighing up, I suppose, was that there's also a slight chance that Grundy may need another week to recover, and at least Smith gives me that extra backup just in case. So if you went with me last week and brought Smith in, yeah, looking okay at the moment, but certainly if you were late on that, don't look to bring him in this week. Peanut Luddums is a peanut. You know that. Matty Flynn, didn't this man play a great game over the weekend? Looked really dangerous up forward, played well on the ruck. If you would have held him, and I don't know many teams that did personally, yeah, fantastic move, because, yeah, he would have aced you a really nice score last week in that R2 position. So break even of 64. Yeah, hold on to him for another week. Absolutely fantastic coverage during a really tough buy. Now, Todd Goldstein, I have heard some chatter about the potential to bring this bloke in for Brodie Grundy. I don't like it myself. You know, Mr. Burns type. He certainly is a pod. I've got the symbol there in respect of Toddy rather than the Mr. Burns symbol. But look, he's looking to rise 10,800. Projected score of 104. That could be really handy on field this week. Break even of 79. Coming up against the Big O, so the Big O's serviceable, but, you know, nothing fantastic. Yeah, I'm not a fan, but if you want to do it, then go for it. But I think the week to trade out Brodie Grundy was probably 2 weeks ago, if not last week like I did. And last one there, Timmy English, just throwing out another pod name. Pretty desperate just to find a few ruckmen that do not have this really, really tough buy. On to the forwards, 500k plus. Now, if you haven't already, it is time to enter the hall. Actually, when I said that out loud, that sounds a little bit wrong, but you know what I mean. It's time to jump on this man and enjoy the ride. That probably sounded a little bit worse, didn't it? But look, to put it really simply, trade this man into your forward line. I finally got there. At times, he couldn't hit the water if he kicked the ball off a boat on the weekend. Clangers galore, but when you do get the ball as often as he does, some clangers can be afforded. He's been that damaging that GWS actually sent a bowler to him last week. I was expecting, a 50 type score, but nah, Hawley just continued on his merry way. The standard 1-2-3s from him, collecting the ball at ease, seagulling off the half-back, and he actually sets up so much of North's play. We know that Zeebles obviously suffered a little bit because of this, and look, even opposition coaches are now really cluing on to Hall, but that's not going to stop me from recommending him. I know it's hard to bring him in with his inconsistent history, durability issues, but I think you need to get with the times. This is 2021 Aaron Hall in a role that we've never seen him in before. He's a jet. I think it was 17 disposals at half time, and then just continued on with it in the second half. How would you describe him as a player? I think he's now a must-have. You've got to have Aaron Hall in your side. He's really damaging if you don't. If you come up against a team that's got Hall, if you're going for overall ranks, it's going to hurt you not having him, I think. Look, even on the weekend, was in last quarter, I think it was, he also had like a really nice contested intercept mark, and it was in a critical stage of the game. And look, if not for some of the terrible clangers, it was a 160 plus score for sure. He's clearly in the top two forwards alongside Zorko at the moment. And as I said, just has the potential to crush non-owners in a line that's been an absolute nightmare for us this season. So, look, however you want to say it, enter the hall, get inside the hall, just get him into your side, I think. Zorko, the Muppet, he survived for me this week, and I did back out of my original plans and traded Grundy instead. Look, even with Neil in and some reduced mid-time, I think he can still be damaging enough to finish in the top four forwards. He's too expensive to trade in this price, though. I think almost guaranteed to drop price in 2 weeks. So, look, he's a good selection, even with his Muppet attributes, but not at his current price point. So, I think he's a great selection to have in your side, but would I be trading him in the week after he comes back in? Obviously not this week. Probably not, because surely he's got to come back down to earth a little bit, I think. The Tomahawk, people that traded him in over the weekend would have been really pleased with what he produced, particularly against good opposition in Port. Could have been a 150 type score if he had his kicking boots on. I think he had 4-4 on the night. Look, time on ground, always high. Now developing greater synergy, I think, with Jezza. And there are very few key defenders, I think, that can match him for strength. So, super dangerous when rucking the forward 50. Loves to grab the ball out of the ruck, similar to Tex at times. So, just another avenue to score. You know how I feel about key forwards, but history does suggest that Tommy is the safest one if you're looking to get one in and ride the KPF roller coaster. So, grab him if you want, but yeah, for me, I just can't do it. But not a bad selection, I don't think. Bolton, not this week, but if upgrading next week, I'm all for it. Love him as a selection. Absolute gun. Bailey Dale, I am a fan of this pick. Look, unbelievably, he started the year under 300k, which is hard to imagine, but it's all about his role in the back line. He's a kicker, the distributor, simply has a great role for Supercoach. He doesn't have the highest ceiling, although he did jag a 152 in round 10. The main issue with his current price is that score now drops out of his 3 rounds rolling average. So in a week or two, he probably gets closer to 500k rather than 550k, but he can still hit that the 117 break even. Still at an okay price, I think. 61, 72, 84 are his lowest scores of the season. So only the real one disaster there. Gone over 104 times, so yeah, okay-ish. Already mentioned, that he's got an average ceiling before, so a bit of a concern there. So just my predictions, but if I was given a 10-point range for an average from here on, I'd be predicting probably a 93 to 103 for Dale. Look, that may not be the case, and you may disagree, which is fine, but that's probably where he sits for me. He may be overpaying slightly, but still a good option this week, I think. Zeeble, same as last week. We all have him. None of us should be trading him. Probably similar average to Dale, in my opinion. And Danger, the man is back. Pretty modest return for the former Brownlow medalist. Had a nice first quarter, netting over 30 points, but that's where the fun ended for Danger. Finished with 18 disposals, 10 contested, couple of tackles, 7 clearances, 7 muppets, which is clearly the most of any player on the ground, for a return of 66 Supercoach points. Surprisingly, actually finished with the second most metres gained for Geelong. So, look, even that wasn't good enough to even get into a 70. Most people would agree that he's on the decline after being such a terrific scorer for years and years. Remember, he had no preseason, not a lot of Ks in the legs, and is also on the wrong side of 30, let's be honest. So, 73% of game time, that's traditionally low for Danger. So I think there's some upside to the pick. I don't think it's wise to trade him in this round, but in a couple of weeks, his price should be as low as we've seen in a while, I think. And look, by then, hopefully he'll regain his touch and feel and blow out some of the cobwebs. So I'd suggest to firmly keep him on your radar if he can produce maybe 200 plus scores, then bring him in without too many worries. On to the forwards, 250 to 500k. Cody Waitman, simply just hold him. Hopefully he gives you a half-decent score after having a rest during the bye. Jeremy Cameron, look, I think he'll be a roller coaster, low break even, looking to go up 30k just this week if he can go over the ton or just over the ton. So, look, if you're someone that's willing to grab a ticket, then go for it. But personally for me, I just don't like these type of picks. Cole Langford, now, he's probably my likely trade-in target this week. I spoke a little bit about him last week, but to put it simply, if he keeps his current role, he'll be a great pickup at this price. If he loses his inside role, moves out onto a wing, the upside certainly decreases. Look, Dev Smith in, that won't affect him, and he was playing the role even before McGrath got injured, so you'd think when Shield comes back in 3 weeks, I think it is, I'm hoping they can still maintain some decent inside time. Look, main issue is that he's also a capable forward due to his size, good overhead ability. So a change in role is not out of the question at all, but it seems to be working for Essendon for now. This may simply be a 6-week burst, or even the start of a new long-term role. But the low break-even, decent price point, DPP status, and potential upside on season average means that, yeah, he will be likely making his way into DR's Rusty Spoons this week. Look, if you're looking at his averages from rounds 1 to 9, then you'll think that I'm absolutely crazy. But his 3-round average suggests that he certainly could be on the up. And we now, I suppose, have a 3-week sample size of 100 plus scores. Could certainly be a bust, but I think I'm deciding to jump on now. It's all about timing, these picks, and I hope that my timing is right. Could certainly be wrong, but look, at 474, I'm saving 50k on a Dale. Yeah, I'm probably just going to go there, I think. Connor Rosie got the absolute trap on him. Look at his average on the season, even his 3-rounder. Just do not even go near Rosie. It's just going to end up in tears, I think. Dev Robinson, you absolutely hold, been in great form. Look, an issue with Dev moving forward is that Jared Berry is now in full training or close to full training. I think he's maybe 1 to 2 weeks away. But when he comes in, it does make life pretty difficult for Dev to keep his spot, I think. But yeah, just sort of reassess that pick. If it does look like he's going to lose his spot when Berry comes in, probably just downgrade or upgrade, I think. Poulter, do it each week. You've probably got to trade him, I think. If you're in a lucky position to hold, then go for it. But most teams, I think it's a pretty easy decision this week. You just use him to go up. Been terrific for, what's it been, around 6 weeks so far. Yeah, good job, mate, but time to go, I think. Big Charlie, the woodchopper, booted 4 on the weekend. Went above the ton, and I've already mentioned the nice fixture the Port have ahead. And particularly next week, a Collinless Suns could mean a big day out for him. So short term should deliver you some nice scores if you want to stray away from the pack. Archie Perkins, you just hold him. Harry Jones, yeah, you'd probably love to trade him, but at the same time, you'll most likely need him on field this week to get as close to 18 as you can. But ideally, yeah, you'd probably like to move him on with that red break even of 60 there. And Jermaine Jones, you probably move this bloke on as well. Obviously got the bye. Yeah, upgrade or downgrade if you can. Robbie Gray, 20 disposals on the weekend, getting some midfield time. Tell you, what's up with the Mr. Burns symbol players this year? The oldies are absolutely killing it. But look, you can grab him as an alternative to Hawkins or Dixon if you want. But I still have a bit of a lack of trust. In saying that, could prove to be a really sneaky selection. Did go above 100. So, yeah, what's to say that he can't do it? Toby Green, look, we know what this pick's all about. Has really nice upside. He can do things that other people can't in the forward line. We know he can impact the scoreboard. Sometimes his kicking's been a little bit off at stages during the season, but this is a man who can kick a big bag, has a really friendly fixture, particularly in the next couple of weeks, and this could be a move this week that could net you some really, really handy points. So I don't even need to explain what the risks are. It's a bit of the NDHP policy, but I have noticed, I suppose, Green mature. I think a lot of that was due, and I don't know if it's purely due to this or it's just he's at that stage in his life where he's looking at things a little bit differently and maybe has a goal to, improve certain parts of his game, particularly his discipline and behaviour. But it seemed like when he was given that role as captain, even in the short term, that really did change him for the better. And I have seen a lot more positive signs from Toby Green than negative signs like we've seen over the years. So, look, you can grab him, but I suppose durability and NDHP is still a bit of a real concern there. Joey Danaher, well, look, there are some reasons to hold, some reasons to trade. Why would you hold? Well, we are playing North this week. A half-decent score isn't out of the question. If he goes somewhere near a 90, for example, he's not going to lose a heap of cash. He's obviously a warm body on the field this week. I keep on repeating that phrase, warm body on the field, but we're just so desperate, as we know, in round 14. Look, what are the reasons to trade? Although we're playing North, we are playing down at Hobart. The wind and the weather gets a little bit wacky down there, and combined with Danaher's usual type of kicking, then that is a little bit of a concern. And look, who knows, if he puts out something like a 60 score, then yeah, he will start to plummet in price a little bit more than what that 13k projection suggests. So look, it's completely up to you. Well, not as a Brisbane fan, but if I was an owner, I'd probably keep him if I didn't have 18 on field. If I could field 18, yeah, sure, trade him up, because I don't think he's going to be a keeper for the rest of the season anyway. Nick Hind, I've gone a little bit cooler on this selection. Look, his break even 119. Yeah, I'd just be waiting if you can. Or, look, do you go him or Langford? Langford's got more upside, but Langford's got more risk for a change of role, I think. So if you want to play safer, go for Hind. If you want to take a little bit of a risk but aim for a larger ceiling, then I say go with Langford. Jarman Impey, now, he's a pain in the bum, isn't he? 136 for his break even. So it's almost like if you don't trade him this week, you're pretty much stuck with him. And then if you're looking to upgrade him, well, what he could go down, wow. Yeah, so 26k if he goes around 76. So he's going to be under 400. We know we only paid, just over 200 for him at the start of the year, but that's not the point now. It's a really tough one. My attitude for this week, and it may be too much of a short-term view, I'm not too sure on that, you may disagree, but I am holding him. I'm just so desperate to field players this week, get as close to 18 as I can, and I think that's really going to help me to move up the ranks. Other people may say, well, if you trade him out this week before he loses too much cash, trade him before he's almost untradeable at his price, then you'll win out in the long term. So certainly arguments both ways, and I'm not saying that the way I think is right, but yeah, I'm just purely focused on really trying to improve my round this round. But look, yeah, Roll, Will Day, yeah, it's just a little bit dicey, the Impey pick. Wouldn't it be great though if he could just come up with a 90 plus? I still think he's got the potential to do it. I really do. If he can just get back to that role, I think he can. I'd probably take an 85 and be happy from here with Jarman Impey. And Isaac Heaney, easy, get rid of him. Absolute trap. We've said this from the start on this channel during the stock market videos. A little bit of FOMO after one good score, I must admit, but came to my senses, never really considered trading him into my side. Just get out of this pick now. 402k break even of 144. We've seen what he's done before. The game he comes back, he could give you a 50, and then you're in some pretty big trouble, even more trouble than the Impey pick. And as usual, we'll finish with the forwards under 250k. It won't take long because there's not a lot to see here this week. CCJ has been an absolute godsend for us over the last few weeks. We'll continue to go up in price. Hopefully he gets at least another 3 to 4 weeks. That'd be ideal. Or even play out the whole season, even better. Joel Armady from Sydney, a ruck forward, but at 195k, yeah, I just wouldn't look to go there. Got the buy anyway. Roses, I'm passing on. Waterman, similar to Madden, I'm just making a prayer to the SuperCoach gods. Please deliver Alec Waterman again for us this week. I think Draper's very close to return, possibly 2 meter Peter. So his spot may be in a little bit of jeopardy, but hopefully, yeah, he can make it for at least just one more week. That's all I need, Alec. 1 week from you, mate. And Miles Bergman down the bottom. Well, I think he can chop him. Look, his break even is 71. It's in the red. Look, if he's the medical sub, even if you haven't got 18 on field, I'd just trade him anyway to whatever you can do, because there's a real risk that you could lose a lot of cash on this bloke. But again, if you're really, really struggling to field players this week, then you could just cop that projected price full and just bank your score for this week, whatever it is. So that's it for now, guys. Thank you very much, as always, for sticking with me right until the end. Please make sure that you do check out our new podcast, SuperCoach Swordplay. We do have a new channel Spills and I have created dedicated purely to that podcast. We do upload every Tuesday night, so the support would be much appreciated there. Apart from that, all the very best of luck in what may prove to be the toughest round of SuperCoach that we have faced in a number of years. Brace yourself, everyone, and I'll see you next week. Cheers, bye.